This is going to be part 2.0. I did the part 2 and didn't show putting the parts on the vehicle, so start by taking off the body here. Actually, it'd probably be easier just take these screws out, because getting the mount back in the frame, this would be a lot easier. Taking the body off the mount. Screw's quite long. There we go. I guess what you could say, we're going to reverse engineer, take it apart and put it back together where we put on the parts. Alright, go ahead and take the tires off. The wheel weights. We'll go over a few things. Oh, will weight come off with it? Let's talk about these tires, or these rims right here for a minute. If you notice, right here where this lug nut is, this cutout triangle lines up with that lug nut. If you look at all the rest of them, you've got this one, and this one that line up with the triangle, but this one has to line up with the one on the back, right back here, because if you don't, these spokes get crossed, they don't match up. So there's only one way to put those rims together correctly, because if you don't, they just won't line up right and they'll be off. The bead lock worked really well, just as long as you kind of get the tire on there, start tightening these things down in a torque, and as you do it, you just make sure to go around the tire like that. But the insert, you put it in sideways in the tire. Just push it in, flip it, and then go around like that, and it will just pop right into the tire. And then you, like I said, you tighten all this down, and it will, the bead lock will seal. And it does have a brass ring in here, and the tires come with foam. The original tires did not come with foam. They're just tires, the originals, but they're not a full. It's just something to run around the yard with, whatever. You're not going to get a lot of performance out of it. So if you notice, you have your pins here. These little pins are going to have to come out for this to come off. It's right here. We'll take these off. There's a little trick when you're doing this. So we'll go ahead and disassemble that. At least one side anyway. If you notice, the screw has the brass bushing on it, and it come out with it. So you want to be careful with your parts. Wouldn't be bad to have like a magnet around with you, so if you do kind of drop something, you could recover it. Go ahead and unlock the thing here. Now most of these links and things, they come with two bushings. One goes in one side and one goes in the other. One's bigger than the other one, so you really can't mess them up. And they're held on. Right there is a rubber ring, and I got one in each side. Some people only put one ring on, so you have more movement. I just like having the parts on where they should. So let's take out our pin, make sure we don't lose it. Come on, there we go. Got the pin. So we got the bottom one out, and we will take the top one. Here's our bushing, come off that one. Make sure to put it back on. Then this should come right off. Should. I'm trying to think, because it was a little hard to get it on. There we go. As you notice, you have your little dry pin here. The bearing also, those are the original bearings off of the plastic piece. What I did, I just took a heavier tip, put it in the plastic one that it come with, and kind of put it in like that and just worked it around until it popped out. Then I took it, put it right into the brass one, and you can easily bend these if you don't be careful with them. Your little drive shafts, because all they do is just slide in and out like a keeper key. When you put them in there, you want to be real gentle and just kind of turn it until it locks in there. If you try to force it, you can bend that real easily. See, that just popped right in there. And whenever you're taking your steering link off right here, this part, you notice the screws on the back side, so you have to take it off of the servo, which is another bit right here. Right there, you just undo it. And the tightness of that, if you ever heard anybody talk about a servo keeper or whatever you want to call it, the tightness of how tight you put that screw is going to determine pressure right here, because this is split. And when it gets under a lot of great pressure without moving, I guess you say the servo, that will split and turn to keep from binding your servo, just like that little space there. Take out that little screw right there, and now allow your horn to come off, and then you can get to this screw back here and take off your steering links. I want to make sure their little shaft here is put on right. Put our little thing in, and once again, putting this on there, this may be a little tight, but you want to line this up and make sure that it's snug and on your shaft there, and then you can turn your knuckle. You can reassemble your thing. Make sure your brass sleeve is there. I wouldn't tighten it down all the way tight until you get the other side in also. Once again, you got your little brass sleeve there. You want to put that in there. Get it lined up. Oh. Sometimes you just got to work these things, because you notice it doesn't quite line up perfectly, so you got to finagle it as I say, you shouldn't tighten down all your screws until you get everything in alignment and start it, and you can tighten everything down. So we've got to get our bushing in there. There we go. We get our screw in there. Get started. I'm kind of wiggle and jiggle it a little bit. Make sure it's not cross threading. You can always back it out. But once you strip something, you know it's stripped. So you want to have it just a little free. But if you look at this side, see that's both the screws except for the top one. You can see the bushing there, so you don't want to over tighten that, because this top bushing is going to stick out a little bit. The bottom one, you can snug it down because it should go flat. Not over tighten. You got to remember these are plastic axle housings. Now we'll go ahead and reattach the aluminum steering arm right there. Make sure to get it lined up though. Lined up straight. And you notice it's at an angle also. These knuckles, just the way the steering works. So you want to make sure that you get it lined up and not off sideways, because that right there looks like it's straight with the frame, but like I said, the knuckle is not. So it's really easy to get that. This you put a little bit tighter and snug. With your links you do the same thing. You just take out your screws and replace the parts, replace the screws in, and of course got the front and rear brass. I'll take the rear one off and we'll look at the worm gear, because this is a little odd the way this was. You think, well, you got 4 screws, they should go back together pretty easy. Well, this is kind of true, but it also has it's a little finicky. I'll show you what I'm talking about here in a minute once we get all the screws out. Because the front and rear are pretty much the same as far as, the axles go. Wiggle this a little bit. There we go. So there's your worm gear right here, and there's your drive gear right here. To get that worm gear out, you have to take the screw right there off. So this is the little tricky part I was talking about. Your axle has to fit up into that when you put it back together. It makes it kind of difficult whenever you try to take this out, and I've already taken your screws out of your chunk back here, or your differential, whatever you want to call it. And that little booger, some people lose these. The way mine are, I don't think I could lose them. I don't need to jinx myself. There we go. Once again, you can see the bushing or bearing right there, and on the original one I just took the tip, a good one, and I worked it around until it popped out and put it into my brass cover. So now we got that screw out. We just pull back, and you see right there, maybe you can, you see right here That's where it attaches onto your axle there. But now your worm gear can just pull out. To get your main gear out, you have to pull both your axles. At least on the front you do. But these have caps on them. Right here, take your screws out. Shaft comes, and you don't have to take it all the way out, but you just pull it out a little bit. You gotta watch it, make sure you don't lose your pins. But you pull them out enough, and this will come out. Then you gotta watch for your bearings falling out also, or your bushings, bearings, bushings. And since we have this open, we will put some grease in there when we have it open. Just go ahead and grease it up a little bit. Don't want to be excessive with it, but some people like getting theirs in water, so they grease them up a lot. Me, myself, I'm not going to be getting this in water. I'm going to be rock climbing. Go ahead and put it on my bearing over here some. And watch where your mating surfaces are, you know, because if you look there, I covered up the hole. That's why you don't want to put too much on there. See, there's your holes there also. Then you have down in here, just go ahead and just put it on the side there. So let's put our worm gear back in. Line it up here. Where are you at? Come on. You don't want to force it. You want it to just jiggle and wiggle it until you work it on and get it where it needs to be. Put your screw in. Just snug it once again. You know, these parts are plastic, so you don't want to manhandle it too much. You'll strip it. Or whatever you want to call it. Put too much strength on it. Once you get all that, go ahead and put your differential cover back on. But you're going to have to line it up and put your traction arms on there. As you see, you know, it can be there we go. You don't want to force it, you just want to jiggle it and it'll go into place. And you go ahead and get your screws in place. And you just get them started. You don't want to tighten them down all the way too tight, you know. Get them started. And the reason behind that is you don't want one surface to be flat up here and there's a gap down here. So you want to slowly tighten your screws down. Or get them, you know, started to where they are just surfaced. with anything else, when you're messing with it, just like a tire, whenever you're changing a tire, you want to torque things down evenly. Like with, you know, an engine head-on engine block or something, you just don't tighten the screws down like that, because by the time you get to this end, it's going to be a lot flatter than this. You're going to have a gap back here. So kind of want to do one there, go to the opposite screw on the opposite end, do one there, come over here, tighten that one, go to the opposite one over there, then hit that one on the opposite side, middle, and over here. Then we'll do it again. And you can usually feel where some of the screws loosen up as you're torquing things down. Of course, this is a little car, so you know, some people just use 2 fingers and still strip it out. So you want to be easy with it. You don't want to tighten it down too much. If you really have to tighten these screws down because they back out, you know, use some Loctite. And there are different colors of Loctite. I believe it's blue Loctite that you want to use. With anything else, after running, if you have screws, you know, loosen up whenever you use your vehicle. When you're pulling your maintenance, your after maintenance of your vehicle, go ahead and check those screws, because my rims are real bad about loosening up on this vehicle. My Rustler, I don't think I've ever had a problem with it, but my TRX4, not a problem. My Senton, not a problem. This, as you're putting on your parts, that's how you do it with your arms. You take this screw out, this one out, that one on the other side, and this one, pull them off, your axle turn. And then you take the screw out here, 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 and over here, and you just replace those parts. And like I said, they're all pretty much the same. They have one side that's bigger and the other side's smaller, and the little rubber O-rings hold those things in there, at least one side of it, you know. I didn't put, you know, get the brass for the rear, because the problem I was having was it was tipping backwards from the front, tipping boop. So with the weight on the front, with the brass upgrades and things with the tires, the front bumper was catching. So the idea is to flip the bumper mount. Pollen's killing me out here. Alright, so this looks like it's going to be pretty easy. Let's see, so we're like this. Should just take this one off, flip it, put it over here, just reverse these. I just want more bumper clearance. So there, take that one off there. This one over here. And screw it. Put it on the vehicle. See how it sets, looks, whatever. You know what, also, I just noticed this. There are holes in this to where you can actually move the bumper back. But I like the amount that it's out off the front as needed up higher. So let's reattach it and see what we got. Other one started. And tighten down. Make sure that when you do tighten it down, you're pushing it upwards so your little plastic keeper will be in the hole. You won't tighten down your screw and flatten it out. So there's the bumper now. So let's get our tires back on. I didn't put any brass back here except for the weight with the built-in drive nut for the tires, or the rims that fit the rims. It gives it enough on the rear end to where it doesn't lift up, say going downhill. A lot of the rims have, you know, a nut on the outside of them, like the original one. Since these weights are like this, they come with this to where it threads on and through as such. So whenever you put it in there, it's going to get in there and thread. The brass kit I got also come with just the brass nuts without this weight around it. This is a pretty good balance on a vehicle. I may mess with it later on sometime, change my mind. But I know, like, you know, on the Cape Crawler channel, I mean, he talked about one of his Gladiators. You know, he's spent a good bit of money on it, you know. One of them. Onwards of, you know, $1,000. It just depends on what you want and how much you want to spend on it. Sky's the limit. I mean, you could just practically rebuild this whole SCX24 to where there's not much of the original one left over. I mean, you can get carbon fiber frames, aluminum links like I've got, the tires, you can get the front and rear axles. You can also, you know, go to steering on the rear end also. You'll need more channels, so you'd have to upgrade your receiver. The bumpers, you got mounts for your batteries and ESC to where you can put them different places on the frame. You know, sky's the limit as long as you got the money. But I'm happy with the results I'm getting at the moment. I was talking about that Loctite earlier, and when we were taking this apart, one of these rim nuts was loose. I had to go in and tighten like 3 of the lugs on one of the wheels, on the rim, that is. Sometimes people strip out or bend these little pins, and as with the axle part, you know, that I was talking about, you got to be easy with it. If you try to force these things, they will, you know, it will tear them up. So if something doesn't fit right, just take your time with it. Don't get too excited, because I'm forgetful myself. I forgot to put the wheel nut / weight on it. snug, not too tight. Like I said, you could use Loctite on it. I know for a fact though that these aluminum pieces here, I'm sure the brass knuckles really tightened up the response for the steering. Some people take these servo savers off, but me personally, I mean, I want to keep mine on. Let's get the body back on and see what it looks like. Get started there. There we go. That side just enough. Then we'll get the other side lined up. Get it in there. I think I got it. It's kind of wonky. So you don't want to force things, you just want to wiggle them around or whatever you can do to line them up correctly. Just you try to force this stuff, you end up stripping it. I think I got it now. Yeah. So, you know, since this is a body thing, don't crank it down as tight as you can. You want snug, you don't want to like tight to where you're bending your little things in like a fork. All right, let's see what we need to do here. Okay, so it's not hitting the Velcro since we flipped the bumper mount. Got a lot more wheel clearance on the front. We will lift our hood latch. I guess you could call it a hood latch. It was there. And it's on both ends of it, to basically kind of like your transfer case. And that's what we have right now. We'll wrap that up on this video, and next video will be part 3, where I put the new part on and bind it. And then we'll run a little bit, see if this hooker is top heavy. But let's go ahead and look at it. There it is, with front bumper mount flipped. It was down here, now it's up here. Lifted this up for more clearance. I have to push it back a little bit. Alright. And yeah, look at it. It kind of looks like a little bit of a monster truck. It's kind of cute. Or whatever, bad at, you know, got clearance. The tires aren't going to rub at all. I'm going to go with these shocks for now. I think it looks kind of tough like this. Let's see about the, I think it's got a pretty good angle. Honestly, tires are off the ground, it's on its bumper, but I mean, we're back to this part. Let's put it on something. Let me feel it. See how it feels. Let's see here. Pretty good angle right there before it really tips back. Yeah, it's almost straight up and down. Of course, if you got it back here like this, it's still pretty good. I like it. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I got some good footage and edited it correctly for y'all, so everybody could learn something. If there's something I didn't cover you want to know about, and I'll research it if I don't know and ask some friends. Till next time.